Hello and welcome to episode 90 of the TPCast. I'm Layne.
I'm Kevin.
And I'm Kyle.
It's been a hot minute since we've done the old podcast.
It's been a really long time.
It's been a hot years.
I guess you could say that. As if you couldn't tell already, we don't do these often unless we have something to talk about. And once again, the stars have aligned when we have something to talk about.
Yeah, there's a big new project happening.
And that project would be Marlin the Elite versus the Asteroid. So this is the return of Marlin, Lemon Man, Cotton Swab, whole other people on a brand new adventure.
And if you're thinking, wow, that title is so cool and so simple, you'd be shocked at how long it took us to come up with and agree on a title.
Yeah, so we'll give you a brief rundown of what to expect with this new endeavor, and maybe a little bit of what went into making it, but without revealing too much. We'll save most of that for later. So, how did this come about?
Well, we had been talking about how we made a movie and we were really proud of it. And then after that, we were like, you know what, let's go back to doing another season. And we did the season in a really interesting way, which was we shot and edited the entire thing. And we didn't even announce it until all 10 episodes were completely ready to go. And we liked doing it that way. That way we could just put them out quickly. And we thought, you know what? Doing a whole season is a lot of work, and doing a whole movie is a lot of work, but we wanted to do something. We didn't want to just leave Marlin behind.
We were getting that machinima itch again.
Yeah. And so I had the idea of, hey, let's do a short film. That way we don't have to put in all this work to do a whole season or a movie. We can just do one little short thing, and it'll be fun, and it'll be quick. In quotes.
Yeah, air quotes there.
Yeah. And we can come up with a really cool story and just do a short film. And so everyone agreed that that was a pretty good idea. And then it was time to come up with what that would actually be. And we kind of went our separate ways and thought about what are the possibilities here. And I came up with an idea that I thought was really great, and I bounced it off of Kyle, and Kyle liked it. And so then we presented it to Layne, and the idea is essentially there's an asteroid headed towards Alpine Springs, and wouldn't it be cool if we take Marlin and Lemon Man and Cotton Swab and we shoot them into space and see if they can fix this problem of the asteroid headed right towards their home.
Yeah, so like you were saying, we wanted to do more, but me being a stickler for tradition, I did insist that every season is 10 episodes because that's what it has been.
I remember, I think, didn't I say, we could just do 5 episodes?
Yeah. But because of that, and we didn't want to just throw in episode ideas that we weren't crazy about.
Mm-hmm.
So this was a good way to do it.
It was like a compromise because we essentially did the length of 5 episodes in one short film.
And, going back to a few years ago when we did season 11, I still think that is one of, if not our strongest season, some of the funniest episodes that we've ever done.
The funniest jokes, too.
Yeah. But when we were doing that, we found it so hard to come up with episode ideas. We have like this list of, here's some of our ideas, and a lot of this was like, hold on, we've done this before. Because when you've done 110 episodes, it is honestly hard to come up with new ideas.
You're kind of tapped out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so to try to come up with 10 more brand new ideas that we haven't done before, it's like, that's difficult, but
it's exhausting to even think about.
Yeah, but we have this great idea for a short film that it feels a little bit more grand than something we could do in an episode. So it makes sense to put more effort into it and to make it something a bit more of an event.
Yeah, so it is like, I like to think of it as if the Marlin series has been going, Then you had the Marlin the Elite movie. In my mind, this has been like the TV movie,
Yeah.
or like a hybrid in between them. Hence, why it's called the minor motion picture.
Which
Yeah.
was one of the titles that we were debating between. I think that was a pretty clever idea, because we had the Marlin the Elite the movie, and this would be like kind of a companion to that.
It's not a sequel. You know, we didn't want to call it Marlin the Elite the movie 2. We did have actually a lot of ideas for titles that some of them we really liked, some of us didn't really like, and as Kevin alluded to earlier, it did actually take us a really long time to arrive at a title that we all really liked. But yeah, it is sort of hard to quantify what this thing is, because we have never done something like this before. Like, we've done the episodes, we've done the shorts, we've done the movie, but we've never done something that kind of fits in between all of that.
And interestingly, when we started making the movie in like 2016,
The first movie.
yeah,
The real movie.
it was kind of our plan to not have it be feature length. We wanted it to be shorter, maybe 45 minutes to an hour. And it just grew and grew and grew into a feature film size, which is one of the reasons that it was delayed. And this movie, I think we easily could have made it a feature length, just because we had a lot of ideas for it. And we like specifically held ourselves back and made sure that we were actually going to fit it in under an hour. Like, this time we actually gave ourselves that, because otherwise it wouldn't be a minor motion picture. It wouldn't be a short film. It would just be another movie. And we didn't want, this isn't a sequel to the movie, and it's not a sequel to the last season. It's a new story.
And that is a problem that we've had before, where we'll say we're going to do something nice and quick and easy, and then it just ends up snowballing. That's kind of our thing.
Hence why we've done that strategy again of waiting to announce it until it's done.
Yeah.
So when did we start working on this?
Yeah, we probably could have announced this a couple years ago, because we have been working on it for a couple years now.
I'd say it's definitely been in the thought process since late 2022.
Yeah.
At their, I'd say, latest.
Maybe even before that.
I mean, it's hard to say exactly when we started talking about this, but I do know that we have sort of been on a weekly basis meeting and working on it from, we'll just come over once a week and talk about ideas for the structure and the characters, and go from that into what is the story, what happens, and then go from that into actually shooting it. So it has been a really long time of consistent work.
Yeah, constant work.
Yeah, if this is more like the marathon strategy rather than the sprint strategy. Whereas I feel like the episodes were more of the sprint strategy versus this, where it's you're not doing as much all at once, but it's the other side of that is that it then takes a longer time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we talked about this when we did the movie, but the way that we usually do an episode is we'll have an idea, we'll shoot it all in one day. Layne will edit it together. He'll do his voices. Kevin and I will come over and do our voices on another day, and then it's done. And so for me and Kevin, it's like literally a 2-day process. For Layne, it's a little bit longer, like a week or so, just to put it all together. And then we have this finished product. Whereas when we did the movie, talking about the original one, that was like our process for like a scene or half a scene, is we would shoot just a little bit of it, and then Layne would edit it together. We'd do our voices for, a couple hours working on just a 2 or 3 minute scene, and then move on to the next scene. And that was sort of the same process for versus the Asteroid, was taking a lot more time to like Layne said, it's not a sprint. It's not, let's get this episode out real quick. It's, let's make sure that this is as good as it can be.
And I felt like we were a lot more efficient this time, using our time wisely, because with the original movie, it was delayed a lot. Not only because, like I said earlier, that we just kept adding to it, but also because we and by we I mean Layne had saved a lot of the editing work for last, and this time we did a lot more editing as we went and got a lot of that work done while we were making the rest of the movie. So
Yeah.
by the time we had finished the voiceovers, there was very little work left to do.
By that mentality, it was not just so it would be, I guess I should say, we started doing production, like the actual production of it, which is like moving characters in game, capturing footage, and doing voiceovers in April of last year, 2023. So what we would do is sort of alternate in between doing a scene, and then I would edit it up, and then we would also then do voiceovers for that scene, so that we would have a chunk of it that's already pretty much largely complete in its basic form, often before the next thing is filmed. So that was a good way, in order to feel like we've done more than saving it all for the end, and also save us from the repetitive nature that could bring out.
Yeah, last time it was like me and Kyle finished doing our voiceovers and we're essentially done, and there's still like months of work left. And this time it was so much more evenly spread out that by the time me and Kyle had finished up, there was very little left to do. And I think doing it that way was much more efficient and felt a lot better to me, and probably to you too.
And what you said about when we started production was April of
April of 23.
23, and we finished like the final voiceovers. What was it, like May or June of 24? So
I think it was like maybe April.
yeah, so that gives you a sense of how long it took us to put this thing together. After all the planning and getting the story together, just shooting and editing the whole thing and doing our voices was about a year of work.
And one of those elements that is pretty new, I guess, is doing this cross-game sort of thing. So we did a little bit of it for the first movie, and have done a bit of it for certain episodes in terms of doing a chunk in one game and a chunk in another game. But this is a different thing where we're kind of using multiple games to tell one story that is taking place at the same time, versus something taking place in a flashback or having taken place previously. So that also required a lot of planning and figuring things out, because a lot of the characters that we have require certain armors or different being a different species. So some characters could be used in one game but not another. So that was a lot of kind of planning, figuring out, okay, who can we get in this environment and this area, and who can we not? And so that required some I guess strategic casting sometimes.
Did you mention which games?
No. So if you've watched the trailer, first of all, go ahead and watch the trailer, and you will see we've used Halo Reach, we've used Halo 2 Anniversary, and we've used Halo Infinite,
Which is brand new to us.
in terms of doing machinima.
Yeah.
And then there's also one other game that we used, but only for a single shot in the movie.
Yeah, so see if you can find it. And also between those other three games, it felt a lot more of like an even split. It's not like Halo Reach dominates the movie. There's a ton of it that's in those other games too, which is really cool because we got to like do all these forging of sets, and that was actually a lot of fun because we had done like the majority of the show in Halo Reach, and we've like exhausted the forge options there. So now moving into these later games that have a lot more that you can do with forge, that was really cool because I feel like our sets in these two other settings are like, they're so cool. Everything looks so good.
Yeah, and a lot of it, like in Reach, they didn't really give you like a blank palette to just make whatever you want. You know, there's that big Forge World map that we've used a lot. But with Halo 2 Anniversary and especially Halo Infinite, you can really go wild and make anything you can think of, which is perfect when we
had new things that we had thought of.
New ideas, new locations, and new characters, and ways that we can like put them in an environment that we've never been able to do in Halo Reach.
And another thing, when we've used when we're using Halo Reach and Halo 2 Anniversary, I guess technically we've used Anniversary before because we had used that for certain chunks of episodes, but for Halo Reach we've never used the Master Chief Collection version of that for Marlin, and so all the new forge pieces and features that have come out for that really tickled our fancy in terms of
we did have a few
fleshing
new
out
options.
sets and making them more pretty and more, I guess, finessed.
You know, another thing that was really interesting was when we did the voiceovers. It had been a long time since we had done the last season of Marlin, so a lot of this was like coming back to old characters, and some of them just stay with you forever and some of them not so much, at least for me. So it's fun to kind of come back and like try and get back into the mindset of some of these characters.
That's a funny point, because also there are some characters that I play, like for example, I play the mayor of Alpine Springs, and I play Marlin's grandma. And they sort of have similar voices when you think about it. And when we were doing voiceovers, it had been so long, like actually some years that have gone by since I've done these characters. I had to be like, Layne, can you bring up a clip of the mayor so I can hear exactly what he sounds like so I can do that? Or grandma, so I can hear like the differences and make sure I'm not doing the same voice.
Another aspect that's new to us with doing the Master Chief Collection is also the capturing of it. So we've gone 4K with this movie. So we're with the times because 1080p wouldn't cut it anymore.
Yeah. This is our best looking Marlin.
It really
or
is.
Machinima yet.
It really is. I remember going back to the early days of the show when we were finally able to present Marlin in glorious HQ, as he would say. And then, Layne would slowly upgrade his capture equipment, and we were able to get 720. And I think, was it the movie that we finally got 1080?
Yeah, the movie was the start of 1080.
And then we did one season with 1080. And now we're on to the next gen already.
Yeah, and it looks great. And it's also, if I do say so myself, a very good movie and very funny. And we said the same thing about
everything we've done.
Yeah, the first movie, when we were promoting it, we talked a lot about just how funny it was and how packed it was with jokes. And then the following season, we felt was also, like Kyle said earlier, our strongest work and very funny and very clever. And I honestly think this new movie, we have topped ourselves once again. And I find this to be probably our funniest work yet, which is saying something.
It is super funny. I think that's always a goal for us, is how funny can we make this and how many jokes can we throw into any situation. And some of these jokes, honestly, we've had for years, and like, we have wanted to work some of these jokes into some episodes, and we're able to finally get some of our best never before heard work out in there.
And just in terms of like the voice acting, I feel like we all did a really great job. And like, I don't want to sound vain and say, I did such a great job and I'm so funny, but all of us really, like, the three of us really did a great job at delivering the lines in such a funny way. There's absolutely a couple lines that Layne has delivered in this movie that make me laugh so hard.
There are lines that Kevin did that I'm like, wow, that was perfect.
Yeah. And Kyle too. Like I said, we all did a really great job at being funny in this movie.
And what you said about how it looks so great in 4K, and it really does. And, Layne has this nice 4K TV that we're able to view, and we're, watching through a section of it and seeing this thing that we've done in 4K. Really, it makes a big difference. It's so beautiful. And not just does it look great in 4K, but a lot of the, let's say, shot selection, the cinematography, I think it looks really cool too. Layne, if you're okay with me saying this, that I think it is your best work in anything that we've done with Marlin.
Wow.
And a lot of...
Why wouldn't he be okay with you saying that?
Why did you say that? I hate that.
Because the movie was so horrible and so ugly. No. But a lot of this movie is like, we got some really cool special effects. And a lot of the shots are stuff that Layne has put together that...
Visual effects.
Yeah, visual effects. That's like, this is cinema quality stuff.
I'm not sure if I would be comfortable saying that, at least myself.
But
at
yourself.
least within the game universe,
Yeah.
I tried to make it look as convincing as possible. And just by the nature of the plot of the movie, it required probably the most special effects or visual effects that I've had to do thus far.
And you totally knocked it out of the park. Everything, all the visual effects are just stunning. And there's so much that, like, people won't even realize that, oh, that was a visual effect. And like how many layers there are to a single shot.
There's a lot of like masking characters and putting them in with other characters, whether it's for like timing or logistics, in terms of it being only the three of us plus a extra controller to use.
Yeah, our limitation was we're able to load 4 characters into a game, and so we can only really shoot 4 at a time. But there are a number of scenes with a lot more than 4 characters in it. So the fact that we're able to use some of those visual effects to make it very seamlessly look like there's a lot more going on than what was actually there when we were shooting it. I think you'll see when you watch it. It's that, and a lot of the other stuff is just super impressive.
So I think we dropped this a little bit, but we called this a minor motion picture and kind of like a cross between an episode and a movie. And we said it's under an hour, but how long is it exactly? And I'll answer that. It's a little over 50 minutes. So that's still a very decent chunk of stuff to watch. And when will you be able to watch it? That might be a question that you have. And we've announced it's happening on September 4th. We're going to have it go live at 6 p.m. Pacific time. So if you're in a different time zone, you could figure that out respectively. Should be about 9 Eastern. Not sure what that is Hawaiian time.
Layne, you said September 4th, didn't you?
Yes.
Does that day mean anything?
As a stickler for tradition that I am, I had to insist on releasing this movie on the anniversary of when we put out the first Marlin episode. And that subsequently became when we would premiere each new season, typically.
Yeah, and we weren't able to premiere the first movie on September 4th. It just wasn't ready in time. But I think we dropped like a trailer or something.
Yeah, we did the trailer on September 4th.
We always want to do something on that day.
Yeah. So that's when you'll be able to see it, and hopefully we'll see you in the chat and and see your reactions live. And if you're not able to make it live, it'll be up there in perpetuity for you to enjoy.
Yeah, we're very excited about this.
Yeah, it was so much fun to put together. Like it's not just let's do this so that the fans have something more to watch, which we love doing that for you, but we also love putting this together because we are filmmakers and we love doing that, and machinima has always been very close to us.
We're also passionate about this kind of universe that we created and these characters and their locations and their stories. And I feel like if you are a big fan of what we've done, you're really going to like this because we are telling a brand new story and a really cool story. And we're bringing in a lot of characters that you have come to love, hopefully.
It is, yeah, it's weird seeing, I'd say definitely with the movie and the last season, people coming back and finding the series saying that they grew up watching it.
Yeah.
And that they're nostalgic for some parts of it or the characters. So that's very flattering and also makes me feel very old as well.
Yeah, and I share that because I grew up making it, so I'm nostalgic about it too.
Yeah.
In fact, I was just thinking about, you said that we would do every season on September 4th, but I think in the very early days when we were pumping them out like crazy, it was like we'd do a season in September and then another one in February, right?
Yeah, the seasons, it would be like an actual season. So it's like the fall season.
Yeah.
And it was still 10 episodes. It's like the fall season would start September 4th and end in December. Then the spring season, I think we were starting up in like early February, and that would go until roughly May or June. And then we'd do it again.
That only lasted a few seasons.
Yeah, that was like the first 2 seasons when we had no standards.
Now we're
didn't know better.
adults with jobs and lives, and it's not quite as easy to get together and pump out 10 episodes in a few months, but darn it, we'll put a minor motion picture together over a couple of years for you.
And I think when you see it, you'll understand why it took a couple of years to make, because it is very well done. And if you think about, oh, why did this take 2 years? What are you doing in all that 2 years? Like Kyle said earlier, we were meeting like once a week. Like we have lives, but we would do something every week until it was done.
Is there anything else that you guys would like to add before everyone sees this piece of work?
Do you want to talk about the music?
Yes, I would say if there's anything that I did save and then do all at once, it was the music. So like as we were saying, as we were working, I would edit, we would do voiceovers for like each chunk of scene. That would also include me adding all the sound effects and audio work that needed to be done, except for the music, which I saved for last, and then composed original music for the movie. There is some music that got reused from the first movie and the series itself, but that amount is pretty small and very much like in the background. So the majority of it has new music, so you'll get to enjoy that, including the trailer. The trailer had new music for it and included some themes that you'll hear again.
Did the movie have any new and returning themes?
Yes, it did. Yeah, there's, I mean, definitely new themes. You've heard at least one of them in the trailer. And then throughout the movie, there's at least, I'd say, three or four different themes that come up. Definitely Marlin's theme shows up in there. There's also like obscure themes that are associated with different groups or characters that I think were only used like a few times in the series, but make their return in this. So if there's anyone who gets that, I'd be impressed, but it's there if you wanted to deep dive.
One more thing I want to say about the movie is that I feel like the story is very it's simple to follow. You're not going to not understand anything, but it's also really complex and deep. And I think we did a great job at making a really compelling story that from the beginning to the end is so like fun to watch.
There are some atypical things that happen in this movie. It's not just a straight shot. Of course, they're going to encounter some difficulties and unforeseen situations. So those are always fun to do.
Yeah. And in this movie in particular, they were very fun to do.
Kyle, any last words about the movie?
I would say I'm really genuinely really excited for people to see this. I remember when we were done with Marlin the Elite, the movie, back in 2017, and we were watching it a lot just to make sure that we had something that we liked and that we were comfortable putting out with no mistakes. And I remember being able to watch this saying, like, this is the last time I'm going to be able to see this just with the three of us, and I'm excited for people to see it, but I like that it's my own. I maybe have grown a bit as a person, and now with Marlin the Elite versus the Asteroid, I'm just super pumped for everyone to see it. I would love to put it out there as soon as it was done, but gotta wait for the 4th.
We got promotions to do.
Yeah, and I really am curious to know what people want to what they think of it. So be sure when you're watching it or when you're done, leave a comment. Let us know how you liked it.
Yeah, I remember that was something that we were saying when we were doing the first movie, is that we cannot wait to hear what you guys think, because there's so many parts that, like, I want to know what people think about this. And this movie is no exception. I'm so excited to hear what people say. If not just say like, oh, this is great and this reminds me of my childhood, but if there are any specific parts that you guys like, please let us know, because that always is very fun for us to hear, to know that there's a actual like specific moment that really got you.
Exactly. We always like our fancies tickled.
Yes, we do.
So with that, we'll probably be back. I imagine the next episode that we do, we'll talk about all the behind the scenes stuff about this movie that we aren't able to talk about yet, because you haven't seen it yet.
A spoiler full episode instead of a spoiler free.
But this, while this large movie has been the focus of our attention, it hasn't been the only thing that we've done. As you may have seen, we did throw up a new short live action movie a few weeks ago. That was mainly just filmed it was very off the cuff. It had been a while since we'd done anything live action, really, since the pandemic.
Anything at all.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. So that was very fun to do. It was very much shot out of a let's do something, but we're not exactly sure what. So we came up with a concept pretty much like very on the fly. And even then, we only had a rough idea of like us interrupting each other with something. And it wasn't until after we shot it when we decided on like the direction that it was going to take. So we like filmed it knowing the intention, but
not the specifics.
Yeah. And then
we shot it like not knowing what the characters would be talking about, but like
in what order the shots would be put in.
But like, oh, here's a funny idea. What if I pop up in between Kevin's legs?
Yeah.
Or Layne sits down next to me on a bench and I'll be like, what is going on? And then we'll come up with something funny to talk about later.
And we also really wanted to show you guys that Thomas Productions is alive.
I guess that was another.
Yeah, and we're still kicking.
Element.
We just have other things that we've been doing.
And we're not like high school kids with acne anymore. Now we're hot guys with beards.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the one takeaway, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think. And everyone looks hotter when the footage is desaturated.
Oh, yeah.
I think Zack Snyder has that down.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
Yeah, and with the slow motion too. We took a lot from Zack Snyder for this movie. I hope you guys are Zack Snyder fans out there.
What if Zack Snyder made a Thomas Productions movie?
I think we got a taste of that at the top of the original movie. The original Marlin movie, that is.
Oh, that was so much fun.
that scene was one of the reasons the movie took so long to make, was because of the sound and how you had to redo every bit of sound
Oh
for
yeah,
that scene.
couldn't use any of that audio because of the constant kill balls and explosions going off.
Every time somebody fired a gun, had to replace the sound, which that was like happening throughout that entire scene. So that was, I was not jealous of you being in the editor's seat for that one.
Mm-hmm.
That's the latest with us. Is there anything else you guys care to talk about? A lot's happened since our last podcast in terms of world events, game events.
Well, I guess the last thing we talked about was Losers of Eden, right? It was the movie that we had shot. So
our real movie.
Yeah. That was a feature film that I wrote and directed. And Layne said the last podcast episode was from December 2021, which was when we were still finishing up editing it. So since then, we completed it. We had a premiere where we rented out a movie theater and had all the cast come back, and that was really fun. We had a little party, and then since then, we actually got into a few film festivals, and we won a few awards, which is super cool. We won, I believe, 2 Audience Choice Awards. One of our lead actors won a Best Actor award. I magically won a Best Supporting Actor award, which was shocking to me.
None of us agree with it, but
Yeah, even I don't agree with. I think there were a couple other actors who should have gotten it. In any of the other actors other than me, but I'm not gonna complain about getting an award.
Of course not.
Yeah. So we got into a few film festivals. We got a few awards. We got some recognition, and the really cool thing is now it's actually available on Amazon. So if you have Amazon Prime, it's not available on Prime from
You could
streaming.
buy it or rent it via Amazon.
You can rent it or buy it, but it's there on Amazon. And that was a really fun process to go through, actually, because one of the things that they needed was a timed, what's it called? The closed captions. So I had to go through the entire movie again and time all the dialogue and some of the sound effects, which is really fun to just go through the whole movie and go like line by line. And that was fun because I was like, wow, I forgot how good this line was delivered. So if you want, you can view all that extra work that we did. You can rent the movie and watch it with closed captions if that
After all that
fancies
work, you better.
Yeah. I don't know how you'll feel about me saying this, but I'm just going to say it. If you do rent or purchase it, I do get directly some of that money, which is
All proceeds go partially to you.
yeah, which is really cool actually that Amazon does that. So if you would like to support me in that film, go check it out, and you can watch the trailer. The trailer actually has over 15,000 views on YouTube, and I think over 30,000 on TikTok, and another couple thousand on Instagram. You can find it, and you can find a lot more information on my website, or you can also go to Instagram at Losers of Eden to find out anything you need to know.
And talking about, that Kevin gets a cut of it, so far you've made enough to buy like a couple of ice creams, right?
I've made more money than I thought I would, which is really cool.
What flavor of ice cream?
Oh, peanut butter and chocolate, definitely.
Good choice.
Yeah.
Since then, we've also been doing our gaming as well. Kyle's been the infinite man in this room.
I'm
definitely
grinding my way to hero. I'll say, for being such a massive Halo fan and playing since 2007, I have actually sucked at Halo multiplayer for much of my life, and I've been a consistently like negative KD player since Halo 3 Reach 4 5, and not until Infinite somehow did I magically get good, as they say. And I'll toot my own horn here. I'm, usually when I'm playing, I'm around the top of the leaderboard.
He is very good.
I-
I
yeah.
watch him play.
Yeah, I'm
I
super
can
good.
confirm. He's not making it up. It's the real deal.
It feels good to be good. And yet there are people who play a lot more than me, and people who will play like 8 hours a day, and they got themselves the max rank months and months ago. But I'm working my way through it. As of recording this, I'm probably about 65, 66% of the way there. So my goal is by the end of the year, I will have achieved hero rank.
That's very impressive to me. It's something I cannot commit myself to. But still, I've been playing Infinite and finding enjoyment in it, as well as other games. Starfield's been in my rotation since it came out, as well as Jedi Survivor, both of which I've been taking the nibble approach out of both of them. So it's been taking me an extremely long time to finish either one of them.
I don't know how Layne has time to do anything at all.
He's just always doing something. Starfield is also a game that I played, and I'm a huge fan and supporter of Bethesda Game Studios, and Fallout is like my favorite game franchise. Fallout 3 and Fallout 4 I just love, and I actually replayed Fallout 3 recently. I was really excited about the TV show that got me excited and into it again. It was the first time I had replayed any of their games. In Starfield, I played the heck out of that game when it came out. I finished it, so I stopped playing a few months ago. But they are releasing a DLC soon, which I'll be checking out. But I actually really loved Starfield. I thought it was really well done, and it was super cool to see that Bethesda-style game taken into a brand new IP. It was super cool, and I really enjoyed it.
I would like to talk about a game that really surprised me recently is Stray, a game where you play as a little kitty cat. I am not a cat person. I'm a dog person. But I just instantly fell in love with Stray, and it's such a quick game. You can play it in like 4 or 5 hours. And I've played it twice. And I'll just say that it was so right up my alley, and it just leaves you thinking about it constantly, even long after you're done. I know I made Kevin play it. He liked it too. And
I was you didn't make me. I was happy to
Yeah.
play it, and I also thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a really cool world that they created in that game.
And I know, Layne, you have not played it yet, but when you're done with your,
Maybe once
Other
I've
games.
polished off at
Yeah.
least one other
When
game
you're done with
first.
your nibbling,
you're gonna borrow my PlayStation and you'll play Stray.
I look forward
You
to
will
it.
love it too. You're actually a cat person.
Yeah.
You'll
So,
like it even more.
yeah, apparently. Kevin mentioned also the Fallout show. Yeah. As someone who hasn't been a huge Fallout fan myself, I still found it really, really enjoyable. And I think more of my the reason why I haven't gotten as into Fallout is because I don't necessarily like spending a lot of time in that like post-apocalyptic environment, gameplay wise.
you'd rather play Skyrim or
versus
Starfield.
something that I don't know has more like, not to say that Fallout doesn't have grandeur, but
Feels more like Star Wars.
Well,
sure.
with fantasy like Skyrim, that's a cool thing. It's like playing Lord of the Rings, and then Starfield is going into space. It's like playing Star Wars, and Fallout is different because it's more oppressive. It's like everything out there is trying to kill you, including the environment, because it's post-apocalyptic. So I get that.
Yeah. But like I said, I really enjoyed the show.
Yeah.
And I think it made me appreciate I guess more of like the science fiction-y elements of the world more than I had realized in the little bit that I had played of the Fallout games.
Yeah, the sci-fi element is probably bigger than you would think if you play the games. And as somebody who, like I said earlier, those games are some of my favorites. I love that universe. I love the world. I love the games. And seeing it come to life, I think they just did such a good job. People like to compare it to the Last of Us show. as like who did a better job of, making adapting a game into a TV show, and they're so different that you can't. That's not really fair to compare them, because one was a narrative game and the other is like you choose your own adventure, and here's just a story in that world. But they just did a fantastic job, and like you saw it in the reviews, and not just the critic reviews, but the fan reviews. Like everybody thought they did a great job, and as a fan myself, I was extremely satisfied, and I just loved it.
To me, the only, I guess, downside of seeing the Fallout show is making me realize on some element what a Halo show could have been on some level had they taken a different direction with that.
Yeah, it's tough. Adapting video games are tough, and adapting video games is always going to be hit or miss. It's never like middle of the road, really. It's either hit or miss.
Interesting, though, one of the differences between Fallout and The Last of Us is that The Last of Us was taking the story of the game and putting it on the screen, where Fallout is telling a brand new story that is like canon to the games. So that, you can compare them, say like who did it better, but it really is a totally different approach. And play Mass Effect if you haven't played it yet. Come on, guys. Mass Effect is the best.
That I know. I know that. Anything else that you guys want to mention? Any movies or other games that have stuck out to you over the past two years at least? 2 or 3 years?
No.
All garbage.
All garbage.
Kyle?
I wouldn't say it was all garbage, but nothing comes to mind that I'd like to talk about.
Nothing that hasn't passed the expiration date anyway of social conversation.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll just leave it there. For those of you who are listening, thanks for listening, first off. And we really hope that you enjoy this next installment and see Marlin and his friends and whoever else joins him go on this adventure. So until next time, when we'll probably talk more about the movie and what went into it, I'm Layne.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Kyle.
And we'll see you next time.